Hey folks, thanks for joining the Film Hound podcast, where we always support local film, but local can really mean anywhere. That's why today we're talking to Dominick, Cousineau, Benoit. He is in Canada. He is our first Canadian guest, and he made a film called Halloween Stalks. So today we're going to talk about your favorite horror franchise, Halloween, and all things that are fun horror. So Dominick, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. And thank you for not massacring my name.
Well, I try my best, though Duolingo only can do so much. So I really appreciate you being here. Halloween Stalks, it's gotten a bunch of views on YouTube. It's really started a conversation with people reacting to your video, talking about Halloween fan films and fan films in general. And that's something I think you're kind of getting into a fun little question about, because Canada is the birthplace of the modern slasher movie, at least the English language version of it, because you guys made Black Christmas, you guys made other horror films like Ginger Snaps. And as a person who really loves horror movies are kind of my thing. It's really interesting to see, like, you say that they're not genre focused anymore. So what do you think is the problem?
I would have to ask. Well, when I say the genre focused is not very elaborated, I'm talking more about the Montreal area, which is the part of Canada I live in and that I know. For the rest of Canada, maybe there is more horror movies being made, but here there's a lack of it. But I think that it's an interest that is not there from the production companies. I hear from friends and colleagues who try to go this route to get financing for such movies, and it's very, very difficult.
And that's kind of an interesting question too, because in America right now we have, Walter Hamada, who recently left Warner Brothers, and now his only job is to make horror movies for companies.
Seems like a dream.
It is a dream. But it's all the money is going towards these mid-budget horror films. Why is Canada not doing the same thing?
I don't know. Actually, it would be a good thing to do, because usually horror films aren't the one who are the most expensive to make, unless you go into special effects and things. But slashers films, if you don't have a huge cast and you don't have too many locations, you can make a pretty good film for a tiny budget, and usually it attracts people to cinemas. People love this genre. So if you take the 2018 Halloween remake, I think they made it on a budget of 15 million, something like that, and the money they made out of it in the box office was tremendously high.
You're absolutely right. It more than doubled and tripled its budget, and the other movies, while there's some debate on the quality of those, and we'll get into that more, they more than made back their money. But Paranormal Activity was the same way. It was made for $10,000, and it
very tiny budget too.
Yeah, and it made more than 100-fold of its budget back. So it's interesting to see how, across the world, in Brazil, I've recently seen a movie that was both a comedy, it was both a musical and a horror movie. It was also about werewolves. People make their own versions of what they want to see, but it's interesting to see Canada not making a lot of horror movies, considering they're kind of known for it.
Hopefully it's about to change. I would love to see more of it here.
Well, hopefully that'll change when they see your movie Halloween Stalks. So you weren't so modest when you said that you wanted to make money and you wanted to get your name out. I think that's a great way to start, being honest there. You say getting your name out and hopefully getting financing. What are the goals when you make a fan film? What is the hope that you have when you say, all right, let's take this beloved franchise and put our own take on it and let people really see what we can do?
Well, at first, when I started working on Halloween Stalks, the goal was very personal. The idea of making a Halloween fan film has been in my mind for a long while now, but it's very recently that I deep dive and decided that I would really do it. I committed to it actually on my birthday back in September. On my birthday, I created a story on Instagram announcing to the world I was about to make my own Halloween fan film. But back then, I had no script, at least no finalized script yet. I didn't have any cast. I didn't have any shooting locations. So I just put myself out there. But I had to. Otherwise, if I didn't do it, Halloween Stalks might not exist yet. Sometimes you have to just give yourself a little kick. But the main idea of doing that film was just to to make something for fun. It's my very first professional short film to this day. I wanted to experiment nighttime filmmaking, the horror genre, how to create a suspenseful scene. Actually, at first, I didn't even think I was gonna make a full film. Like I planned to go out there, go somewhere and shoot maybe one or two scenes, just really to experiment it. But then, as I was thinking about it, a story unfolded in my mind, and Halloween Stalks was kind of born. But I really wanted to do it for fun and for myself. At some point, I created an Instagram account, and I was very surprised to see that people I didn't know started to follow the project that was ongoing. So I realized, I figured there was a huge interest for the franchise. I already knew it because there are plenty of fan films on YouTube that you can find. But I'm not known by anyone, and people managed to find me, I don't know how, on Instagram, and slowly but surely the audience grew, and that gave me the motivation of making something as special as I could do.
And indeed, it is special. It's gotten 53,000 views. People are eating this up, and it's getting a lot of like reaction videos.
Yeah.
I actually never knew that there was a genre of YouTube where people...
Me neither.
Yeah, they go on finding like fan films of like Scream and Friday the 13th, and they review them, and they give out like full reviews.
I know.
And some of these guys are like Roger Ebert. They go deep in there, man.
At one point, I was working my day job. I'm a videographer. The rest of the time when I'm not making Halloween fan films, and I was working on a corporate video that wasn't super exciting for me. And that day, I get a notification on my cell phone, and it's from YouTube, and I see that. The channel, you might know about it. We watched a movie. I think they're followed by 153,000 people, and they're making a reaction video for my film. So I was so overwhelmed that I think I neglected a bit the work I was doing there. Don't say that to my client though.
I doubt you were being neglectful. I think you were just excited. You were having a really exciting break from work. Yeah. But it's interesting because in Colorado, in the U.S., I've been offered to work on these kinds of films, and I've actually denied working on them before. I said no to a paycheck because I was so worried about the toxicity of one. And I think in the industry here, especially in America, we're so worried about copyright law because you can't enter these movies into film festivals. You can't. There's no. To us, we're worried about the realistic way to make money, and some people are worried about if they really wanted to make a fan film, like a full-length fan film, how they could profit off such a thing. So going forward, how are you going to avoid these things, and how are you going to clean up the name of a little bit of a fan film? Because it's something that the IP you don't own, but people enjoy, and the fans are truly the people who enjoy and love these movies.
Well, I felt comfortable to make one because, as I said, I saw that there were plenty of them on YouTube, and most of them start with that disclaimer warning that they're not making money out of it, they're not linked to any production companies who own the rights of those films, and they're only doing it for the love of the franchise, which is exactly what I did. So I made some researches. I figured that you could even use the music as long as you don't try to monetize your channel or anything. Anyway, YouTube now has algorithms that will figure out it pretty quickly. So really making a fan film, if you do it for the love of it, you may make a name for yourself anyway because of the fan base there. And actually, I think the creators of the real movies sometimes watch some of them, so there's some legitimacy about them. I don't know much about the laws surrounding it, but I don't think there was any issue. I think also there are film festivals in which you can submit your film as long as you don't get money prizes.
And that's something that, I think people might compare you a little bit to Winnie the Pooh and Blood and Honey, because Winnie the Pooh is right fresh out of the copyright. So he's fair game at this point. Whatever you want to do with Winnie the Pooh, you can do. In the same way, I'm a firm believer that, when stories come out into the public domain, internationally we get so much more. So, there's talk about making some of like Ernest Hemingway's short films or short stories into movies now because they've just breached the 75 years post his death or publication to become, his, public domain work. So same with like the excess of books that came out after the Great Gatsby came out. We got so many more stories that came out and shape our public over. So I think it's something that we really need to discuss more, especially in America, especially in North America, because we have the opportunity to make more movies that really influence our culture and see how we interact. I mean, next year, in the next couple of years, actually, Batman is going to come out into the public domain.
They're still making some, so I thought as long as someone owns the rights somewhere, it's that the 70 years start when the rights are not owned or anything. I didn't know how it works.
Well, and so you only have like a couple Batman, movies or shows that you will be in the public domain. So you can do anything with those very early Batman comic books and things. You can't just, take The Dark Knight and make The Dark Knight over again. You won't be able to do that. But you can do basically anything else unless DC changes the laws or Congress changes the laws again to protect these characters. Which there's always a debate of because Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie is in the public domain, but Mickey Mouse is not. You know what I mean?
Interesting. No, I didn't know about that. We'll still have to wait for a while though, so we can have the rights to Michael Myers, but at some point someone will.
Fingers crossed. So tell me, Dominick, what are you planning next? What's the next step now that you have this movie? Are we going to continue to make Halloween Stalks as a full feature-fledged feature? What's the plan?
I talked about it earlier on my Instagram accounts and on other podcasts. I'm already starting working on a follow-up to Halloween Stalks. I'm not sure if it will ever be made because I funded the first one entirely. When I dived into it, I had no idea how it would cost. And that's even knowing that I didn't have to pay any of my cast and crew. The shooting locations were granted for free, but yet making a movie is very, very expensive. And not only do you invest money into making that film, but while you're not working your day job, so you're not making money on the other side. So it's like twice the amount that you're investing in a way. And I would love to make endless Halloween fan films because making those is so fun and so fulfilling. And yes, of course, I would like to tell the next chapter of that story that I have in mind and that really got me excited. But to make it happen, I would need this time some funds. So I guess I would have to set an Indiegogo campaign or something like that. And that's why I'm really excited about the reception of the film so far. As you said earlier, the amount of views is pretty impressive. But more than that, I think people really, really enjoyed the film. And I can say that because of the amount of comments I get. The views are one thing, but comments is something else. And people will enjoy something. They might give you a thumb up or a very short comment like, hey, it was good, thank you. But most of those comments are long paragraph of appreciation. So I think people really loved it. A lot of people would like to see a follow-up. So hopefully when I set up that Indiegogo campaign, people will contribute and help me this time around pay my cast and crew to make something even more special. And once the sequel is done, if it ever happens, I would have 2 films in my filmmaker bag. I would like to go and make an original feature after that.
Just to let you know, I've made my first feature. It's called Homecoming. It's in post-production right now, so we're hoping to pull it out into 2024 and let everyone see it, really make a name for Colorado and for the filmmaking scene here. We are big on horror, and we're big on the underground horror scene. If you've ever seen the Alter YouTube channel, many great Colorado filmmakers are on Alter, and they are they're the big people on Alter right now that are getting lots of views. So hopefully this will be a good way for us to make Canada, make Colorado, all sorts of places local produced features where it's not just Hollywood. You don't have to travel across the country or move and take your roots and go to a whole new country. You can make a movie anywhere. That's the hope, and that's my dream, that we'll see a world where, this can happen in Montreal, this can happen in your town, my town. Anywhere can make a movie. Yeah, everywhere can make a movie. That's
anyone who has the fire and the passion can just go ahead and make his or her own thing. And congrats, by the way, for your first feature.
It sounds like you had so much fun making this movie, and that's something I'd love to see on a filmmaker's face, is a smile rather than groans and like absolute menace. So tell me, what was your very first interaction with John Carpenter's Halloween? Tell me how you met the Shape or Michael Myers.
I don't want to mix things up. I think it was when I watched Scream back in 1996. I was 10 years old. Sometimes I mix things up because it's been a long time ago. Sometimes I think it was with Halloween H2O. Halloween H2O is the first Halloween film I saw. But the first time I figured out that the Halloween franchise existed was because of Scream. And if you remember, it's not only subtle allusions in that film. They really talk about Halloween. Drew Barrymore is about to watch that film in the opening scene, and Randy makes the speech about the rules while the film is playing on the TV behind him. So those little snippets of the film really got me interested, because the shots they showed on the TV, I think it's the kill scene, the Bob kill scene. It looked really cool. So I was 10 years old. I went to my mom. Hey, Mom, do you know about that film? Could we rent the film? And she denied it right away, because my mom is someone who's really, really scared by horror films. And then she shared with me a personal story. Back in 78, she watched Halloween in movie theaters. And at that time, people weren't exposed to gore and violence, not as today. And she was scared back then too. And I remember the story she was telling me. She was in line, so she was with her then boyfriend about to watch the film, and the audience watching the film that just played, they went out from the theater and walked by the people who were about to watch them, including my mom, and they were traumatized. And they were telling people who were waiting in line, "Don't go see that film. You're gonna die of scare." So my mom didn't want to go anymore. And her then boyfriend, as they had been waiting for maybe half an hour or something, kind of convinced her, "Oh, come on, let's go. It can't be that bad." And what she told me is that in the theater, she had her hand on his, and by the end of the film, his hand was all ripped, because every time there was a scary scene or a jump scare, her nails would dig in. So it kind of marked me and made me want to watch the film more. When something is denied, you just want to watch it more. So at some point, I don't know how, I managed to get my hands of a VHS copy of the film. And I was ready to be scared to death. And at the end, it wasn't that bad. But I really enjoyed the slow burn structure. And I didn't have the words or the vocabulary to express that back then. But I enjoyed how simple and effective the film was. Like it's a long start, but you get to know the characters and you get to get invested in the story. So it really pays off in the final act when all hell breaks loose. You're on the edge of your seat and you root for the character. Unlike nowadays horror films, or where the story is like not really the main focus. It's more about the gore spectacle, and at some point you root for the bad guy to just kill in the most gruesome ways the character. I prefer a very good story and maybe less graphic violence. I prefer a mood and an ambience to gore.
You say that because John Carpenter and the producer who made Halloween very explicitly said you would not see blood and you would not see guts and gore in the original Halloween, which I think is a very interesting choice, especially for back then. I think it was probably the right choice, because people, you're right, absolutely were not ready for something like that. Black Christmas was wild. It was subversive. It was like obscure. And yet it's like a cult classic now, and I watch it every December 1st, but I don't know about anyone else.
I think I've never seen Black Christmas. I'm ashamed to say that. Now I have to watch it. As soon as we finish this interview, I think I'm watching Black Christmas.
It's funny because the same director who did Black Christmas also did A Christmas Story. You know, the Christmas Story where he like, you're gonna shoot your eye out, kid, and the light and the pole and everything. Those are that same director. So just keep that in mind when you watch Black Christmas. And if you've ever seen A Christmas Story, you're gonna be like, where did this come from? How did this happen? This is.
I'll see it with a disturbed eye, probably.
Yeah, so you're gonna have a whole new light for Ralphie and his little bunny costume by the end of this. What is your least favorite Halloween movie? What is your least favorite Halloween movie?
It's either Halloween 5 or H2 from Rob Zombie.
Yeah, H2 is pretty bad. I do not like H2.
You know, when you have expectations for something, you really hope it's going to be good, and when it's bad, it seems even worse than bad. And the first Rob Zombie remake came out in 2007. Am I right? I think it was 2007. H2 came out in 2009. So I was 21 years old. It's been a while then since the last Halloween, at least 5 years, because Resurrection kind of killed the franchise for a while. I kind of have a soft spot for Resurrection. I was young when I saw it, but I really enjoyed the opening scene. Even if now when I rewatched it, it's stupid as hell, the way Laurie kisses him and just falls out to her death. But I don't know, I enjoyed the atmosphere of the opening scene, and when Myers gives the knife to that killer, the other killer, patient of the asylum, all that opening scene was pretty cool. But yeah, it kind of killed the franchise, and there wasn't any Halloween film for at least 5 years. So the announcement of Rob Zombie's remake seems pretty cool. They would redo pretty much the last act of the first one. Again, I enjoyed it back then, not so much anymore, because I'm not a fan of trash filmmaking, and that's a really redneck take of it. But as I kind of enjoyed it back then, I was really excited for H2, as he stated he was gonna do something really different. Well, now you have to be careful about what really different can mean. The White Horse never really caught up with me. The giant Myers hobo with the hood, neither. The mask is kind of iconic, and even if he has it in the film, the hobo look he has, nah. Again, the first scene of H2 is the one I enjoyed the most, the dream sequence.
How do you feel about Halloween Ends?
I'm so torn apart. It doesn't work as a finale. 44 years in the making, you're expecting some kind of epic conclusion for something so iconic that started in 1978, and they took a very odd route. It's a bold choice. I'll give that to David Gordon Green. It can be a good film if you see it as a standalone film, like the study of a serial killer in the making. But when you present it to the audience as the conclusion of a saga, and in the end you only have a 4 minutes fight scene in a kitchen with the shape that gets incapacitated by a refrigerator, not so much. So I don't know where I stand, because I can see David Gordon Green tried something different. Most filmmakers, when they do remakes or sequels, they play it safe. Like Scream, that came out in early 2022. It's kind of a requel, that's the word, but it's very similar to the first one. And we enjoyed it, but again, it could have been great if they went somewhere else, which they might do with the next sequel that's coming out in 2 weeks, but they're taking a risk. And David Gordon Green took a risk. But still, you can see he was prepared.
Bother me because it really doesn't answer the psychology of Michael Myers, which I don't know, but if you were someone who's really bothered by that question or not, like Dr. Loomis kind of just says he's the definition of email. I want to see really what his point was. We kind of got a glimpse of that at the end of Halloween Kills, but we didn't really get a definitive answer. We just threw him in like this garbage compactor and hoped that took care of the problem.
It's not the part that really bothered me, though. I don't mind not knowing what are the Shape's motivation. I like that the first one ended with him disappearing and you don't know what the hell just happened or who the hell is he. You know the name, but what created him, you have no idea. And I kind of like that those questions weren't answered. So it's not really what bugged me with Ends. It's more the Corey route that you introduce a new character in that very last film, and for an hour you see him being built up to be a serial killer just to end up being killed by the Shape that comes back. So what was the point?
I don't know. If to me, it almost would have been perfect had they kept Halloween Kills and it was just a dual movie franchise, because I really loved the guy in Halloween Kills, and how that movie ended was a lot stronger to me. And I agree. There's just maybe Halloween Ends just wasn't the right finale, and they'll just have to do it all over again like they keep doing. Every 5 years, a new Halloween movie. We'll just get continually excited and disappointed in equal measure every 5 to 10 years.
Well, so far I get that a lot from the comments regarding people who enjoy Halloween Stalks. A lot of people tells me I should take the helm of the next official Halloween sequel. So if Hollywood want me and comes knocking at my door, I'm in. I'm just spreading the word out.
Well, let's just see. We'll see what happens. I got my fingers crossed for you. But just because you'll need to have all your Halloween chops ready for that day, let's get into game time. So today's game time is ripoffs. What are some ripoffs of Halloween? Surprisingly, a lot of horror movies. So today, Dominick, we're going to be talking about some horror movie ripoffs that are like Halloween, and we're going to see if you can solve all these little movies.
Okay. I hope the language barrier won't be too much of an obstacle to me.
I think you've been doing this with a palm, and we'll just be glad we're not doing this in French, because you might not.
It's been 2 times now you say that, so by the end of the interview, I think I want to hear at least 1 or 2 phrases in French.
Ooh, no. No. Rip-offs. In 1999, Lover's Lane is the originator of the hooked killer that kills people while they're making love in their car. That was like the premise of the movie. And it stars one person who's gone on to do a great comedy career and is also in all of the Scream or the Scary movies, the Scary Movie franchise. They're the lead character there. Who was the star of Lover's Lane?
You say it's a main character in every scary movie, from the franchise Scary Movie?
Except for number 5.
Is it Anna Faris?
Ding ding! Yes, it is. Yes, it is Anna Faris. Yes, it's Anna Faris. Don't you worry. These questions are only for horror fans. So if you're a big horror fan, you'll be able to get through these pretty easily.
I have one question for you before you go with the next one. Is there a masked killer with a ghost mask outside of my house waiting for me to have a wrong answer? Because this looks like a Scream interview.
Well, you're absolutely correct, Dominick. That's what I was about to bring up.
Play a game?
We are playing a game.
That's creepy, man.
Well, you're right. So if you have to get all these questions right, or suddenly 2 masked killers are going to come get you.
Well, if you remember the ending of Scream, if you get it wrong, we kill you. If you get it right, we kill you. So the ending is not good for me. It's not regarding nicely.
Well, it's here's the thing. If you'll die, at least die creatively if you get them all right. Even Stu Macher had a really fun end when the TV fell on him.
Is he dead? Do you think he's dead? Because fans keep talking about him coming back for a sequel sometime.
I think Scream 6 is going to bring back Stu Macher, but we'll have to see in a week when this comes out, because this interview is going to come out a week before Scream 6. So fingers crossed we see Stu Macher.
We can make our bets right now.
Yeah, we can make our bets. So we'll play a little bingo at the end. It's 1989's Offerings. It came out 10 years after Halloween, but it's basically almost a shot-for-shot remake of the original Halloween movie, except for one twist. The killer, he's sent to a mental institution after killing his mom because he gets bullied. When he gets out, he starts stalking all the people that were bullying him as a child. So why was he doing this? What is he doing this for? And why is it called Offerings?
Oh man, I don't know that one. I have no clue. I say revenge. I play it safe and I go with a very large motivation. I would say revenge. He's doing that for revenge.
You would almost be right. So Offerings, the reason he's killing and dismembering his victims is because he's leaving them as little gifts for the one girl who was nice to him when he was a kid and he was being bullied. So he leaves offerings like little flowers, the demented version of flowers, to this girl, and she is the main character, and she is like, what in the absolute fuck is happening?
He's actually like a cat. A cat will bring you a dead mouse to the porch, right?
Yeah. Oh, this is much worse. Here's a movie I think you'll be able to do. In 1980's Prom Night, the killer is chasing one girl just having a nice time at prom, and she is one of the same characters from Halloween who mentions that she just wants to go to prom. So who had the worst prom from Halloween to Prom Night?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes, exactly. Jamie Lee Curtis did.
Whew, 2 out of 3. That's good.
And then in the remake of My Bloody Valentine, they do a twist at the end. And all the main characters, they get revealed who the serial killer really is. And that person is obviously the most handsome person. So who is the most handsome person, Dominick?
Was it Jensen Ackles?
It is Jensen Ackles. He is the most handsome man, as Pedro Pascal would contest. But I'd say that Jensen Ackles is the most handsome man, and also.
So the next remake of Bloody Valentines should be Pedro Pascal.
Ooh, that's actually, I like that. I like that a lot.
I'll try to get into that.
Well, you're full of great horror movie ideas. So, to end this interview, tell Dominick, where can people watch Halloween Stalks? How can they get involved in supporting you, and what can they do to support Halloween?
Oh, they can help and support in many ways. First, they can watch the film that has been streaming for, I think, 6 weeks now on YouTube. Very easy to find. You type Halloween Stalks in the search bar, and there's plenty of content. There are trailers, clips of the film, and recently I released the entire score. So there's plenty of content to watch. And I'm also thinking about making a limited short series of behind the scenes trivias. I would just like to share stories about how it went behind the scenes. So I'm starting working on it, and it would be weekly episodes that might start coming out in a month or so. So there is that. You can follow Halloween Stalks on Instagram because most of the updates I give there. When I announced that I set a Indiegogo campaign, you can help that way. And if anyone in the audience personally knows anyone involved with the first Halloween, talk to them about the film. Actually, during post-production process, a supporter in Florida, his name is Ray, a super nice guy I actually never met, went to a convention to meet with Nick Castle, and he took on himself to talk to him about the film, and he got him to record a support message on his phone. And I've never been in such conventions, but I imagine the time you have with people who will give you autographs is limited. Yeah, you might have 2 or 3 minutes, so take a picture with them, you get your autograph, perhaps you chit chat a little bit, but not more. He waited in line, and he spent the time he had with him to talk about my film, to help me get more attention. So that was really appreciated. So if anyone knows anyone related to the first Halloween, talk to them about the film, and that could bring more attention. That would be a dream come true.
I feel the love you have for the Halloween franchise when I watch Halloween Stalks. I'm very excited for you, Dominick. Hopefully we get to see a new one soon. Now, let's play a little bit of Scream 6 Bingo. What are your top 3 guesses, or what's going to happen in Scream 6? What are your top 3 guesses?
One of my guesses is that we won't see Schumacher, but he will be at the center of the story in some way. I don't think we will see Matthew Lillard in it, like in flashbacks or whatever. But just like Billy Loomis was some sort of a ghost, I think he could be brought back, but he wasn't related to anyone. Someone lives in his house in the 5th one, but I think he will be part of the story somehow. Other than that, I think for the first time we will have more than 2 killers, and I think most of the main cast will survive again this time.
I'm fully disagreeing with you. I'm going to say that Schumacher is going to be the leader of the cult of Ghostface. They're going to take the Kevin Williamson idea for Scream 3 and they're going to actualize it. It's New York, new rules, so I think you're absolutely right. There's going to be so many more Ghostfaces than we can even know what to do with. And I wouldn't be, someone commented on one of my YouTube videos recently, they thought Sidney Prescott is going to be the killer in this one. And I think that would be by far the boldest choice. So tell you what, I'm going to go and I'm going to say Sidney Prescott is going to be the killer of Scream 6.
That would be weird. They made her the main character and she's endearing and you get attached to her. So that would be subversive, but maybe a little too much to make her the killer. And it would be quite a marketing stunt for 1 year now, since she stated she wouldn't be in that one because of the money and all that stuff. So it would be a little bold. Regarding Stumacher, I think if that duo of directors come back for another entry after this one, then they might bring him back. But I think with Scream 6, as they did something really faithful to the first one with Scream that came out in 2022, I think this time around they wanted to make something very special and to make it their own. So I think that they will come up with something that will surprise everyone. So that's why I'm not sure Stu will be the cult leader, as it's been stated for years it was the plan for Scream 3. I think they will want to surprise us a little bit more.
Well, we'll see what happens. Kevin Williamson has approved, so we'll know it'll be really exciting and fun. Dominick, Benoit, thank you so much for being on our show, and
my very pleasure.
Have all the success in the world with the Halloween short film series, Halloween Stalks.
Thank you, man, and I appreciate you taking the time for doing this interview and for showing interest in my humble contribution to the Halloween fans. And before ending this up, talk to me in French a little bit, please. Asshole, huh?
I think just like for breakfast, hearing my French would be enough for my audience. So I'll have to humbly say "Je parle un peu français," and that's all I'll say. So
that's good enough, man. I appreciate the effort.
And remember to watch Halloween Stalks, and remember to support local film wherever you are. Go to film festivals, watch local films made in your town. Go see things that are made regionally, and as always, stay creative, Colorado, and wherever you are.